Well, hey there, and welcome to an Ignite Press book launch livecast. As you can see, we have a wonderful guest with us today. Krti Karval is here from Calgary, actually, right? Did I get it right?
Yes, Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
Oh man, which has got to be just beautiful up there right now. So I'm excited because we're going to talk about Kriti's new book, which has been a long time a long time coming, a long time in the making. Now, if you've ever watched one of our live casts, you know that we at Ignite Press here specialize in helping people bring their message, their books to the world. And if you have a book you're thinking of and you want to have a conversation, just reach out at ignitepress.us. That's ignitepress.us. But here's what we're talking about today. So Krti has written Redesign to Realign, how to become more self-accepting, grounded, and resilient. And this is launching on Amazon today, where you can actually get the Kindle on a special launch price of 99 cents. And then we have, of course, the paperback is available there as well. So Krti, I want people to get to know you. I've had the joy of working with you now for quite some time. And I love it because you're always smiling, you're always positive and up, even when situations are not always positive and up. And that is a skill and a gift that I think you have to share with everybody. Let's start let's talk about who you are. Like, tell us a little bit about your background.
Sure. Well, thank you for that lovely introduction. I live in Calgary. I'm a mom of 2 kids and a wife. But before all of that, let's go back a little. So I've spent the last 14 years working in healthcare, transforming not just processes, but as well as people and system. And just going back, my path has been varied. So I've done research in the past, published papers, and at the same time, I hold an executive MBA and a bachelor's in science with a minor in psychology. But that's all so-called the achievements. But before that, where my journey begins is I came here to Canada at the age of 11. And just as a lot of immigrant children and parents did, I experienced some bullying in school, but then that also taught me resilience. And that's where I think it all started. And that's where my book starts as well. And I came from New Delhi, India. And now I found my voice through advocacy, arts, as well as leadership. So that's sort of what led up to this book.
Okay, fantastic. Now you've been working on the book. I don't know, when did you start? When did you start working on this?
So I've been writing in my journal for a long time. I never thought I'm going to put it together all in a book one day. Um, I so I was Miss Alberta and as well as a semifinalist in Miss Universe Canada. And that's
Wow.
where it all started in terms of speaking engagements. And I had the opportunity to speak to youths, to mentor some young women. So that's where it all came about. And I realized my passion towards sharing a message, and as well as because I've gone through different stages of life. So that's where it all began. But in terms of putting it together in a book, that came to me after I became a mom. And when my plate was full, and you're trying to scramble and you get a whole new identity and responsibilities, and that's where this journey began. And as you know, over the last a year and a half is when I was actively working on putting this together and hopefully sharing it with people that are going through the same thing now or that may have. So here's sort of my chance or my opportunity to give back and share through my words and my book.
Wow, fantastic. Fantastic. Um, I can't imagine some of the things you've gone through and the fact that I mean, putting yourself on a stage in a pageant has got to be one of the most out there things you could possibly do. I just think of, I'd be terrified, absolutely terrified. And so you went all the way to Miss Canada. You were Miss, you got Miss Alberta. You won that,
Right.
and then went on to the national competition as well. Um, how does that factor in? How does that journey factor in to redesign to realign? And I know I didn't prepare you for this question, so
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
That's totally. And I do talk about this too in one of the chapters. So, it really gave me perspective, and it allowed me to step out of my comfort zone and sort of my world. And again, at Miss Alberta, I was 18, and then Miss Universe Canada, I was 21, 22. So I think that really gave me perspective and put me in a room full of girls and understanding what different aspirations they have. And because of the questions they would ask us, it also allowed me to think about what is it that I bring to the table, or maybe I want to bring to the world. Because there's always this thing, if you could change something, what would you change? And moving away from the old cliches, world peace and all of that, it really allowed me to think, what is it that, if I win this title, what would I want to do with it? Right. So it's just, so look behind the title itself. Like, there's a value you're going to bring and a message, because you're going to become a role model. So what is that going to be? And I think at the age of 18, I would have probably not thought about this otherwise. You're just in a time, you're in a frame, you need to do this, you need to get to certain milestones, you need to finish your education, you need to get that job. And I think it allowed me to really step out of that and think about the bigger picture, which I do think about now. Um, so that was great. But also, I saw a lot of insecurities, and a lot of my insecurities came out as well. And I think it was more of a maturing moment, or platform for me. So I think that really helped, and definitely experience of a lifetime for me.
Oh my goodness. So tell me how you reached a point in your life where you decided it was time to redesign your own life.
Right.
And can you describe that point for us?
Okay, I'll try my best. So, because it wasn't just one point or one moment, it was series of, I think, moments. But um, there eventually came a time where I became numb. Like, I knew something had to change, I just didn't know what. And that slow realization made me realize that, I'm performing, I'm there for everybody, but I don't think I'm there for myself. And so when that hit me, that really brought me home. And then again began the process of slowly, unraveling those layers, shedding out those expectations, the shoulds, and the vision that you learned growing up, and realizing, hey, you know what, I don't need to be loyal to that part of me anymore, because I'm not that anymore, right? And I've grown. So I think that's what happened. But definitely this came to me after becoming a mom, and then really thinking about, where in this life that I'm living, where is me? There's everybody, there's my family, and what I need to do at work and so on. But when I started thinking, is this really it? Like, what more now? Is when I started going back. Well, that's great, but where's the joy in my life? The joy that's just for me, that brings me home. So that's where this all began. And, my hope is really to allow people to pivot and pause, like the way I did, and start coming back to your passions, making time out for yourself. And I know we hear that, but I provide tools in my book, and it's not just about concepts, it's about how can you actually apply it in your life, and also the resistance you're probably going to face, because people are used to you being a certain way. And when you say, hey, you know what, this is just not working for me anymore, and I can't keep doing that, or I can't keep being that any longer, there's going to be resistance, because they don't know how to behave to this new side of you. And I don't say, no, that's okay, deal with it. No, we shouldn't, right? We ourselves also have to understand that. And it's like a bridge, right? So it's slow pivot. But at the same time, I think the journey begins with first sitting with yourself and accepting where you are, and then really thinking about where you want to go.
So what are some common problems that you see people bumping into that causes them to get to this inflection point where they realize something needs to change? What kind of things you bumped into several on your own? Are these ones that you think are common for others?
Yeah, so I'll tell you, like, the biggest thing that I discovered as I started realigning my life again is the inner critic. So I think we all face that. Is that voice in our head that before you do anything, it's going to play out the worst case scenarios, or put yourself down. And I realized that, hey, you know what? More than what's going to work, we think about what's not going to work. And it's when I say inner critic, the reason it's so important for us to recognize that, because it leads us to um, something called self sabotage. So, and I'll give you an example. And I realized this with myself, that anytime something good happened in my life, I never gave myself credit for it. I never said, you know what, I worked hard, so I earned it. I said, oh, you know what, I was just the right candidate, or maybe I was there at the right time. Maybe not enough people applied for that job, or maybe that person knew me. So instead of owning my achievement, I started giving the credit to the situations around me. And when something goes wrong, we blame ourselves first, So that's the worst, right? When things are going good, it's so difficult for us to take it. Grab that credit, it's yours. And when things are going bad, you're blaming yourself, you're putting yourself down. That inner critic is constantly at yourself. So, how does this work? This is a lose lose situation.
That is a really excellent point. When something great happens, we we give someone else credit for it, or something else credit for it. When something terrible happens, we give only ourselves credit for it. Like that is really quite the
Yeah.
separation there.
Yeah, so I talk about such concepts, and then according to that, there's a lot of tools that you can use. So it's not just about my stories in the book; it's about stories of people I've met and learned through them. But I've, of course, not shared their names, and I've looked into this from a research perspective too. So things that I share, they're also backed scientifically. So it's not just I think so, I experienced it, therefore here it is. It's not just my perspective, but I do, because I did. When I was going through things, I didn't just go based off of I hear this. I did some research before I start just applying things to myself, or just going in the so-called experiment zone. And that's why I feel confident sharing this with the world now. And you'll see that in my book. There's going to be research evidence supporting things that I share. And to make it very, very simple, there's a tools for transformation section at the end of the book. So you read a chapter, if that resonates with you, if that's something you feel you need to work on, there's an exercise directly related to it in the tools for transformation section at the end. And that's more of a practical way of where to begin, because I know I've ran into that. Like I've met a lot of things, heard a lot of concepts, but that's all great, but like, how do I put that into my own life? Right, where do I start?
So let's talk about. I want to remind people first. Redesign to Realign is available now on Amazon, where you can get the Kindle version on a special launch price. If you're watching this as a replay and that special launch price isn't available, I'm sorry, but today it is. But even then, it'll be $9.99. It's just a great deal, an absolute great deal. Kriti has really poured her heart and soul into this book. The paperback is available as well. And let me also remind you that this is a great book as a gift. There are people in your life who, I mean, quite frankly, we all need to take some steps back and reevaluate how we handle criticism, how we handle the downturns in our life, and what can we do to, really connect again. And so, absolutely great. So pick it up there. Now, Kriti, let's get deeper into your book here. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so one of the one of the chapters you're talking about, you spend some time talking about resilience, for one thing. Um, I also like this whole thing of you write whole, not perfect, self acceptance without apology. It does. Can you want to dive into that a little bit? I also
Sure.
didn't prepare you for this question.
Yeah, and I love it. It's good because then I am not nervous because I don't have to think about those questions. Okay, so this is about my book, and I'll share with you that um, whole, not perfect. So where this came from is that we are constantly apologizing for who we are. So self acceptance without apology is this: that when we overachieve, we try to shrink ourselves so that people around us don't feel uncomfortable. So per people that are in our life, they don't I'm not, they're not experiencing the jealousy, or they're not feeling certain emotions that they might would. So trying to shrink ourselves to fit somebody's box because it will make them insecure, right? So, and then the other piece is, if we are not, and being on the other end, that either we are trying to then overachieve because we feel like we're less than somebody else, or we haven't done enough in our life, or so and so is succeeding and I feel like I'm failing. And social media really adds to that because it just gives you highlights of people's life. You don't see what people actually live. People are putting nice filtered version of themselves, and us as viewers of it have to be mindful of that, that that's not their life. And people may choose to share their struggles, but nobody's sharing what they go through on a daily basis. So, I do bring in social media because that's the world now, and that's what's going to be. Our kids are going to grow up with that. And, if you're a parent, we need to start working now, right? Now, I'm a millennial and I have two kids. My son is 8 and my daughter, she's almost 5. So that's the world that they're going to grow into, right? So it also becomes our responsibility to understand that and then try to navigate around it. Um, and that's where I'm going, that with self acceptance, coming back to your question, is that we need to start apologizing and be confident in what we are. And if we feel like, we're not where we want it to be, or I'm not where I want it to be at this stage in life, that's okay, because whose benchmark am I trying to follow? Like, who set out that benchmark for me? And maybe my parents did, but not they did, so that you keep moving forward, so that you don't just sit around or start getting depressed or don't have a goal or an aim. But after a certain point, we need to understand that no one is putting that expectation on us. It doesn't exist. But I think we forget that and we just
Uh,
keep going on the treadmill.
yeah, I think that that's so, you're so on it because, yeah, one of the things, right, with social media, everyone is just posting the highest points of their lives. They're not posting real life. They're not posting usually the low points. It's just the look, I'm in this fantastic place. Oh, I'm having this fantastic meal. Oh, what an amazing thing. It's that whole Instagram life thing
Yeah,
that just causes everyone that whole comparison thing where you're like, oh, I should be doing that.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
I cringe for, people in their 20s right now, how much money they are spending feeling like they need to go do all these things they see on Instagram just to like that's normal real life. And how much money is being wasted that way and what impact that will have down the road. And that's not even talking about the emotional part, right?
Right.
It's like completely different. And I appreciate what you said also about parents. Like our parents are always striving for what's best for us, but at some point it has to shift from their definition to our definition.
Right. Yes.
And as a parent and a child, that important to keep these things up. By the way, I'm loving watching some of the stuff coming through on the chat with people congratulating you, people talking about the copy they bought. uh, this comment here, I thought I would share, that you're turning such a deeply personal realization into something that helps others, and how powerful that can be. Actually, getting a lot of comments here. Here's another one: performing for others and forgetting about yourself. Yeah, yeah, amazing.
Thank you,
So
Michaela.
more here. This is super fun. Boy, you've got people coming in from all over the place. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yes, I see my well wishers.
Yep.
Thanks for joining.
Yep.
Uh,
Zelda said she's got her copy and can't wait to dive in as well. So this is really good. All right. So now, a couple of questions. You mentioned tools for transformation.
yeah.
I want you to dive in on that. Can you share an example for that of your tools for transformation?
Yeah. So, I'll share the easiest one, but I'll tell you my favorite one after. So the one that I think can apply to almost everybody, it comes from chapter 3, which is about emotional awareness. And there's more of a emotional awareness sort of journal or log. So what it is that just for the next couple of days, right, just 2 days, monitor your emotions. Write down if you feel jealousy, if you feel resentment, what are you what are you feeling and where is it stemming from? And the reason being is because you'll also see the outcome. You'll see how your day went or what you achieved in that day based on the emotions that you were experiencing. But what happens is that we don't think about that. We don't think about emotions because it's so much tougher to go in. It's so much easier to stay out on the surface. So we're just going on that autopilot. So this worksheet really allows you to look at that. And it's not saying, okay, let's do something about it. But once you put something down on paper, like, and you'll see it at work, if you're working on a project and you don't give it a deadline, it's not never going to finish because you've not committed to anything, even psychologically. So once you put things down on paper, all of a sudden you start seeing a pattern and it sort of guides you through that. And that's something that I think is it's about time we start looking at that. But my favorite one is the self-worth audit. I
Okay.
know.
Actually, I want to comment on that one before you go,
Okay, yes, yes.
because what you made me think of is this is something I learned. Another client of mine who's a financial advisor, his phrase is, that which we monitor tends to improve.
Yeah.
And so what you just described was terrific. It's like, if writing down your emotions, keeping a log of your emotions. Without that, we just kind of willy-nilly go throughout our day, and we might feel a certain way and not really even acknowledge it. We just and like sometimes I have to go, my goodness, I think I'm just being grumpy. Like, I think I'm just in a grumpy mood and I don't know why. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't really know why that is, but or I'm behaving a certain way with my wife. Well, maybe it's just because I'm tired. And if I can acknowledge I'm tired and that I'm being a goofball, maybe I will change that, and improve that. So I appreciate what you said. And that's
And
why,
you probably own it too. And you're not going to rub it off on people around you. I think that's also another pattern that happens. So you'll start noticing that how you made other people around you feel because you were experiencing a certain thing.
yeah. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's go to your favorite one now.
Okay, so the self-worth audit is because I mean that's something that I really worked on, and it was about so self-esteem is completely different, and self-worth is completely different, and I spent a chapter talking about that, and that's when at the beginning your self-worth is attached to the achievements because that's how we grow up. What are you accomplishing? What are you achieving? But at a point we need to stop wearing that as our self-worth. So in the sense, if I'm being productive, my self-worth is high. And the day that I feel like I'm not productive, I feel terrible about myself or it was a lull day. That's so we need to start separating that because our self-worth stays irrespective of what I accomplished today or how much I'm doing. And that really takes people into burnout and exhaustion because that's where we run into the burnout cycles. And that's also one of the things that I want to help people with coming from the corporate world myself, is that burnout. And it's often stems from not feeling like my self-worth is attached to how much I do. And so there's that professionally, and the other is people get used to that. So now you put yourself on a treadmill that just doesn't stop.
Like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Hmm.
Okay. Now, if there's one thing that people get from your book, one takeaway, what
Yeah.
would it be?
Okay, so this is strong, but I would say, people that are really deep into this right now, and are feeling stuck, that you're not broken, right? And there's nothing wrong with you. You're just misaligned. and you just need to pivot. But before that, you need to take this pause. And that's where my book comes in, and it'll meet you there. There's so many chapters. Well, there's 12 chapters, but there's different concepts I talk about. There's bound, you'll find something that will help you along the way. And at least that was my intention writing the book.
Excellent. So, Krti, thank you so much for your time. It has been great. I just put your contact information in the chat log. But for anyone just watching the video, you can reach Krti at krtikarval.com, and that's KRTIKARVAL.com. Maybe I can put that on the screen here. Let's see if I can figure out a way. I'm sure I can. Let's do that. Hey, there we go. What do you know?
Yeah, you know how to do
So,
this.
man, like magic. So you can reach Krti if you want to engage with her for speaking, if you want to talk with her about other opportunities, please do that. And of course, you can pick up Kriti's book on Amazon, where the Kindle is 99 cents. You can grab the paperback as well. So, Krti, this has just been a delight, and thank you for coming on here and letting us do this interview with you. You've done a fantastic job. Any final thoughts that you'd like to share before we sign off? And I think I might have lost you there for a second, but that's okay. We have finished out. So if you would, everybody, thank you so much for joining us on today's call. And we appreciate you coming here. Take care.